Hey there, for those of you coming in, welcome to the AI Maturity Series. I'm Chris Ward. You're here, hopefully, to learn about leadership conversations on enterprise AI readiness. We're going to be talking about Chief AI Officer today, AI Council. We're going to get started in a few minutes, give people a chance to come in. While we're waiting, we have an icebreaker question in the chat. So, who in your organization is the primary decision maker for AI initiatives? Is it the CEO, the CTO, maybe the CIO? Is there a chief AI officer? Maybe a AI council or committee? Or is it just kind of the Wild West out there? And you're not sure if anybody's responsible for AI in your organization, or if they are, you don't know about it. Go ahead and put your answers either in the chat. We might have the ability to do a poll here.
Yeah, no judgment. All of the answers we've seen before, so
That's right. Oh, I don't get to vote? Not fair.
for those of you just joining, we are waiting a couple minutes for folks to join, probably starting at about five after. And please take the poll that is in the Zoom.
In your organization, who's the primary decision maker for AI initiatives? Is it the CEO, the CTO, or CIO? Is it a chief AI officer? Maybe it's an AI council or a committee, or maybe it's no one. All right, you should have a poll question up. If it's not working, go ahead and answer it in the chat as well. Welcome. Hey there, for those of you just joining us, this is the AI Maturity Series. I'm Chris Ward. I'm joined with Josh Hargis and Chintan Dave today. We're just waiting for people to join. We'll give it a couple more minutes. And if you haven't already, there's a question, an icebreaker question to answer. In your organization, who's the primary decision maker for AI initiatives? It's the CEO, the CTO or CIO, a chief AI officer, maybe an AI council or committee, or maybe nobody knows who's in charge of AI in your enterprise. Go ahead and answer in the poll, or if you can't, throw something in the chat. For those of you patiently waiting, we'll get started in 2 minutes. Go ahead and answer the poll if you haven't already.
Are we hitting critical mass?
Question. I think we're about there.
Okay.
Okay. Um, should we go over the results of the poll?
Yeah.
All right. In your organization, who's the primary decision maker for AI initiatives? 54% CEO, 8% CTO, CIO. That's interesting. Ooh, no chief AI officer. All right, you guys are in the right place. AI council or AI committee, excellent. Someone is in charge. That's actually lower than I thought, 15%. So, okay, we've got people in charge of AI. That's good. Some people not sure. That's normal. That's okay. And we're here to learn about Chief AI Officer role and how it can help mature an enterprise. So if you're here for that webinar, you're in the right place. Welcome. This is episode one of a Fire Mountain Labs AI Maturity Series. I'm Chris Ward, founder and CEO here at Fire Mountain Labs, and we are here with two guests today, Dr. Josh Hargis, our CTO at Fire Mountain Labs, and Chintan Dave, who leads our AI leadership certification at our partner AI CERTs. And we've got a fantastic session lined up today, focus on one very important and misunderstood uh, parts of enterprise AI, which is strategy and governance. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. Before we dive in, just a couple quick logistics. We're recording today, and the replay will go out afterwards and be available. Feel free to drop any questions at any time into the Q&A panel. We'll address them at the end. Next slide, please. Okay, today's theme is simple but very essential. If you want enterprise scale AI, you need leadership, structure, and governance in your organization. We'll just jump right in. I have some questions for Josh. Josh, when you talk to organizations stuck in pilot land, actually, let me roll back a little bit. Introduce yourself, um, and then we'll get to questions.
Yeah. So Josh Hargis here, started Fire Mountain Labs with Chris back in April of this year, so very new company. Previously, I've been doing AI research for the past 2 decades, almost a decade now in AI security research. Came from a Navy lab, from MITRE, from a startup, so various kind of places. And yeah, excited to chat with everybody today. Um, yeah, could you repeat your question? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So when you talk to organizations that are stuck in like pilot land, what's the biggest leadership gap you see kind of holding them back from bringing AI into the org at a like mature enterprise level that you can deploy and it's reliable?
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the biggest issues in being stuck in pilot land is this fragmented approach to developing AI. So, you have people all over the organization that are excited about AI, some that aren't, sure. But the ones that are excited are sort of, fragmented. They're not really organized very well. They don't really know, necessarily how to get started. But some of them are particularly enthusiastic. And they don't have that, kind of guiding light, guiding principles of how they're supposed to bring AI into a mature organization, like an enterprise. And so that leadership gap is really huge.
Okay. So we see teams with like great technical talent, but kind of no unifying strategy and no ownership of AI itself to push things through, hurdles as they arise. From your perspective, where should AI leadership really sit to prevent that kind of, those blockers or obstacles from happening? Is this something like at the C-suite, or should it be embedded in the technical org, or maybe ground up?
Yeah, great question. As someone who was the previous chief of AI security at Cranium, I will say that it should be the C-suite level. So I definitely see a role arising of this chief AI officer while it continues to form and sort of get accepted by the community. The leadership of that role, somebody needs to wear that hat. So whether it's the CEO, the CTO, CDO in some cases, CIO kind of depends on the organization. It definitely needs to be at the top. Certainly, you're going to have AI advocates that are all across the organization, but you need strong leadership at the top to drive the AI innovation for your organization.
So when I do like, maturity or risk assessments, one of the questions I ask is, who in your organization is responsible for AI? It seems like some of you have been examining that as well based on the poll. Um, but also, another question is, have you received any training, either formal or informal, on either AI foundations or risks associated with AI? The answer is often no. Uh, so, Chintan, introduce yourself, and then I have a question for you.
Thank you so much, guys, and wonderful to have you here. This is Chintan Dave. I'm General Manager and Certification Director AI CERTs. We are the only certification body in the world who has 50 plus role-based AI and blockchain certifications. We're trying to solve the problem which everybody is doing right now. Just struggling to figure it out. What's going to happen with which role with an AI? And I'm really looking forward to the discussion with Krish and Joss. Yep, suit, Chris.
Okay, from the certification and training side, are you seeing like this major demand spike because enterprises are now realizing that AI isn't kind of like a pet project, it's actually going to become a core capability?
Absolutely. So AI is scaling faster than the workforce capability right now. That means enterprise now see that without trained, certified people, AI tools, irrespective of any domain of tools we're using, or the automation tools, or the governance framework, don't deliver the ROI. That means a framework based learning is extremely essential. So there is a huge chaos of unstructured content. And you see, we practice what we teach. We have tested more than 80,000 different tools as an AI set itself. And you can see that the tools are just tools, I would say. You need a framework. Enterprise definitely see it. So enterprise need a proof of competence. So enterprise needs AI at a scale. They need a verifiable, aligned, and mapped skills so that it can easily align with what they're trying to achieve with the short-term and long-term goal. And like rightly mentioned about the regulation and the governing part of it, right? Uh,
Mhm.
are our people certified to use, build, and govern the AI responsibly? So it is very, very important now for every organization which is actually looking forward, every enterprise which is looking forward to have a vendor aligned certification, because they're looking for a lot of different competent technologies aligning, but the skill gap is huge and growing. Having the existing workforce, or moving it to the newer workforce they're hiring. So every industry that you see, starting from healthcare, finance, telecom, manufacturing, and public sector, everybody wants to move to AI-driven structured workflow. So there is a huge demand in the discussions of the AI's certification. You see that we launched the mobile app in 3 months, 4 months back. We have got 500,000 download already. So people are actually looking at the enterprise scale to align the framework. And this is a really right question, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, so I think part of lack of ownership in the AI space in any enterprise or organization is people don't feel confident. Maybe it's a lack of upskilling or readiness or just knowledge of the space. Um, but that lack of confidence is an impediment to taking ownership over it. We've talked to a lot of people, and then when we ask them who owns AI, they're like, I might, I'm not sure, I don't want it, I have enough stuff to do. So we think that education is a key component to building that confidence, that people will feel empowered to take ownership. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to get into how MITRE actually frames AI maturity. Josh and I have worked at MITRE, excellent place for cybersecurity, AI, and frameworks. So we adopt their frameworks when we get a chance. And the AI maturity framework is excellent. So level one, this is kind of your initial. You could be a level zero, but we're not really here to talk about that today. In initial, you have maybe scattered pilots, no enterprise oversight. You're just kind of toying with AI still, prototypes. Level two in AI maturity is a state where now you're engaged. The leadership roles have been stood up. There's governance, strategy, and alignment. So that jump from level one to two is maybe the single most transformative step in AI maturity, uh, because it's where AI goes from kind of interesting experiment to repeatable capability and business value. And that jump is something that is led, it's not coded up, and it's not something you're going to get out of ChatGPT. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is the full AI maturity model from MITRE. A lot of teams here focus on these data or technology pillars. There's 6 pillars we got to look at. And in reality, everything kind of starts with strategy and resources and organizational. So if leadership and structure aren't in place, then the rest of the model can't really take root. Next slide, please. And in those 6 pillars, there's 5 levels of maturity here. So we're talking about getting from level one to two, but there's also three, four, and then five is really this optimized state. Um, this is where organizations are very agile and have people, processes to handle changing AI landscape as it comes. Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on strategy, resources, and organization. And question for Josh. Josh, when you look at these pillars, which one or several, if there are, do organizations really think they're strong in, and then which ones do they actually struggle with once we start doing assessments?
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned people and processes. Those are them. So I think a lot of organizations kind of already think they have what it takes to start leading AI in their organization. They don't. We've talked to people that really they have an AI advocate somewhere in the organization. They're the ones kind of driving the initiatives. But the top leaders don't necessarily have the training to understand kind of what's going on, what's the business impact, what are the use cases that they should be driving towards. So organization is a big one. Strategy and resources, definitely another one. Almost no one has an AI roadmap. They're not sure how to build one. They don't really have a strategy around what they're going to do. Instead, again, kind of back to that fragmented AI pilot strategy. That's really what they're doing, the majority of them. Um, and then to your second question, one that's often so those two definitely are neglected. Another one that's kind of surprising is data. So I think a lot of organizations think that they have a wrangle around data, but they don't for AI. So they really need to mature their data security, their data curation, their data storage, these kinds of things, in order to prepare for the use of that data in AI.
Yeah, I think we should do a whole episode on data. But real quick, having worked in the AI space in a long time, back when it was called data science and then machine learning and now it's AI, my take is that we focus on data way less now, especially with big foundational models, right? People aren't training models as much anymore. They can't because they don't have the infrastructure. And that is kind of like masking this data problem. Curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people expect these models to just work with any sort of unstructured data, but garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't do a good job of curating and carefully maintaining that data, you're not going to get anything useful out of it on the other side.
Thanks. Okay, question for Dave. Dave, how does certification or structured training help leaders understand these pillars, not as like framework theory, but as actually operational levers, things they can do, take action on immediately?
Absolutely. So you see each role and each certification, technically, if you see with AI search ties back to the certifications that we have it because ethics, you need to understand how you're actually applying the ethical, etiquette to use the tools that you're using. So we have a certification called AI plus ethics. It deeps down and understand, give you the briefer as well as the deep dive that how you can operationally set it up in a way that irrespective of tool you're using, starting from Copilot to ChatGPT to Grok to Gemini or any shoots that you're into, it's very, very important for you to, kind of an align an ethics. So certifications like AI plus ethics, we have our researcher certifications, we have AI plus data, we have AI plus product manager, project managers, these certifications and the roles are tied back to very importantly aligning without too much tightly coupling with the tools because tools can change, the framework and the adoption would remain same. So irrespective of, the companies will go for multiple tools for the projects that they are working on and they have to. Right now it's, you use multiple LLMs as well. The certification operationally really aligns them to help understand how to strategize the overall operational perspective of it. So your role is going to tightly back to how you're using an AI. So the person who's using an AI for a code review would be using the differently than person who is using for project management. So the operational framework is extremely important, and you rightly mentioned AI maturity that the levels of understanding from initial to your optimized way. These all roles and the pillars are core of what we do. Yeah.
I think a really cool aspect of what AI Certs offers is that you have a bunch of role-based trainings that's like how to use AI in a specific role, which is a very like human element of AI that is often overlooked. Um, and here a pillar, performance and application, right? Um, okay, so I want now Josh to kind of walk us through how AI leaders that we want to train up can effectively kind of navigate AI chaos using governance.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So yeah, some of the success we've seen in organizations really comes from people that have set up strong governance programs around AI. So we'll talk a bit about what AI governance is, how it builds trust and culture within the organization. So governance really is an enabler. Effective AI governance isn't just about control. We're trying to get AI adoption through, things like fairness and accountability. It's not necessarily all brakes, right? If you have a race car and you're turning a corner, you still need brakes. You do need some amount of, governance to understand, compliance issues and how to deal with, things that are coming risk-wise when it comes to AI. So we need user trust and transparency, formal policies, these types of things. We need things to be auditable. We'll go through some frameworks. Next, we need defined roles and processes. So we need governance frameworks to really clarify who's responsible for AI, whether it's at the development stage, deployment, or pilot stage. Culture of readiness. So we know that governance is coming, compliance requirements are coming. So how do we prepare for that? And so
How
just to
do,
mention,
oh,
oh,
quick question.
go ahead.
Sometimes
Yeah.
people hear breaks and they're taken back by that. Like we don't want to slow down. We want to, enable the enterprise, go faster, get competitive advantage in the market. Like how do you reconcile that?
Maybe I missed the first part. What was that?
I know that sometimes when you talk about the concept of good breaks makes you go faster, there's pushback, right? Like people don't actually want to slow down at all. Like how do you
Yeah.
reconcile, governance with those orgs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's education. So, if you go too fast and you're not thinking at all about the risks and vulnerabilities, then you're going to end up in the news. We've seen some of that recently. So I think we're starting to see some warning signs that you need to take this seriously.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Um, yeah, okay, so some of the frameworks, yeah, here in the United States, obviously we're taking a more a different kind of approach where we're not putting any sort of formal governance standards in place like the EU AI Act, but we do have things like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework that's been around for a few years now. That's a great starting point for understanding the governance and the risks within AI. Mentioned the EU AI Act, that's the one that has the most teeth. So that one really is going to have penalties if you're doing risky behavior, doing unethical behavior with AI. GDPR, that really sets the data standards. Organizations that are global have to pay attention to both GDPR and EU AI Act. So you really need to understand those if you're operating globally. And then, locally here we have 42001. That is a nice framework for AI management within an ISO standard. And so that is one, not required yet, but definitely one that if you're serious around governance, you should be setting down that path. And then the U.S. Governance landscape, while we don't have, a federal mandate for governance, we do have statewide ones. So we have statewide governance coming down from, Colorado, California, New York, New Jersey. So several states are sort of taking, their own approach to what governance means. And companies will have to adhere to that at some point.
So if you kind of comply with one, do you necessarily comply with all of these? Are they all the same or do they cover different aspects of AI?
Yeah, so they have overlapping qualities for sure, but they are all slightly different. So it is a little bit difficult to navigate this landscape, and that's why, folks like us are here to help. So the ownership. So we've talked about leadership. Obviously, this webinar is about the chief AI officer. So who really owns governance? We really need senior leaders to step up to set this governance direction. It could be owned by lots of different people, but that's what that cross-functional team that includes the leadership from the organization is there for. They're there to figure out who owns governance, who owns AI deployment, who owns these other aspects of AI innovation in your organization. Um, Providers and deployers, they have distinct compliance responsibilities. Often forgot is the third party risks. So just because you're not developing AI in your organization doesn't mean AI is not in your organization. It could be coming in through a third party app, some sort of application that's not even telling you that AI is in it. And so you need to be aware of that. And then obviously continuous improvement, AI literacy, certifications and training paths. These are very important for all staff. And cultural enablement. So what we're really trying to do is enable AI innovation within the organization through governance. Governance does not necessarily equal bureaucracy. They don't have to be the same thing. And really effective communication is what fosters that good AI governance. And we really like to say culture eats AI governance for breakfast. If your culture is not set up to accept and drive AI governance, then you will probably not be going down the right path. So make it as easy as possible to do the right thing.
So I want to kind of push a little further on that. How does good governance Like unpack culture eating AI governance for breakfast a little. How does good governance influence culture and adoption? Is it like something that's going to slow teams down or speed them
So
up in the right?
it could be either one. So you could be in a situation where it's essentially the top leaders are saying AI is too risky. We can't bring any of that into our ecosystem. Our AI use policy is zero. We don't allow any AI in this organization. So that's one. That's all bricks, no gas. And then you have the other that is just all gas, no brakes. And you've seen some of that in the news where folks are just, I'm just going to attach this chatbot to the external world and see what happens. So we've seen some examples of that where, everybody probably have seen this one, but the Chevy dealership chatbot that people were able to manipulate to turn into like a Honda dealership, a Tesla dealership, etc. They were all gas. So like, let's just put this on the external web and see what happens. So, both examples are, the extremes. You want something in the middle where you're driving AI governance and AI innovation at the same time. And let's talk about, kind of speaking about this, who owns AI? Where does AI kind of come into your ecosystem, third parties, these types of things. Let's talk a bit about shadow AI. So I can't see answers or anything like that, but I'd like, you to raise your hand in your room, or you can type, yes or no, into the chat as an answer. But I have three questions. So question one is, have you used, some sort of AI flavor, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, in any of these models, in your work? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question two. The majority of the people now raise their hands. A year ago, about half the room. So yeah, now it's pretty
Always
much
like
every.
one holdout too, right? Like, no,
Yeah,
no, never.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, and then second question is, uh, does your organization have an AI use policy that says you can use, this type of AI, but not this one? Okay. And then third question is, have you gone home and used a non-approved AI to do something work related, and then you brought that answer back into the organization the next day? And yes,
Yes.
probably most people have done that. So that is a flavor of shadow AI. So that is now an answer that has been brought into your organization that came from something that was not approved by your organization. Who validated that answer? Who verified that it was correct? So that's one flavor. Okay. So really to tackle that, you really need to assign, ownership of AI, who's going to do AI governance. And so this is a nice kind of graphic of setting up this AI council. So who needs to be involved in the AI council? You may not have something like a chief AI officer yet. So who actually kind of wears that hat? And we've seen all sorts of types of councils being formed. So, CEO is usually involved. They may have somebody, stand in, for them. You may have a chief operating officer, chief strategy officer, chief legal, chief risk officer, all these different hats. Who is going to be involved in your AI council? Who's going to drive the innovation and the governance for your organization? And it's a very important thing to set up early in your kind of process of evaluating and driving AI innovation.
So this list is massive, right? And these are like really expensive people. Um, do all of them need to be on an AI council? What if your organization has three people and only one of them knows anything about AI? Like, how does
Then
that gonna
all
work?
all three should be on the council.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be different flavors depending on the organization. Very large organizations can afford to, have multiple people on the council. Smaller organizations obviously have to figure out who should be wearing those hats. But really, it's just an important step to gain visibility really across the organization of what's going on AI wise. So it doesn't necessarily matter. You don't have to apply the exact template across all organizations, but you do want representations from the important business areas within your organization. One that's often overlooked is legal. As soon as people start adding legal in, then okay, now we have somebody who actually has, risks and governance and things like that that are part of their job. And so they bring that lens that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're really getting at is that AI touches every aspect of enterprise now, right? It's not like 5 years ago where AI was a thing for engineers to do in a cave. Now it's everywhere. Like if you're in marketing, is Adobe Acrobat reading your documents that shouldn't be read? There's all sorts of things to kind of consider in AI usage.
Yep, exactly. So I think we've talked about some of this, but you really need that chief AI officer or someone with that chief AI officer hat who's driving the AI innovation and governance in the organization and the AI council together. That really forms that leadership foundation, which builds strategic alignment, roadmaps that we talked about earlier, building an AI roadmap. What are you actually going to do? What problems are you going to solve? What use cases are you going to go after? Centralized oversight. So you get that cross-functional view from the AI Council that allows you to do that effectively. Bridging the gap between the technical teams that are really trying to drive AI innovation with the other folks that need to be thinking about AI. So it can't just be pilot projects happening in the data science or the AI teams. It really needs to be everybody getting visibility to the innovation that's happening. And then really, a very important pillar of this is the culture aspect. So culture and trust across the organization, that's really driven by these leadership roles that we're talking about.
Okay, so you've got like a chief AI officer. Um, where do they come from? Is this something like someone with a CISP should pursue? Is this something developers should go after? Like, who would become a chief AI officer? There's not like a degree you get to do this. You can get a certification though. And question for Dave, like, yeah, who should be pursuing this certification? And then once you actually achieve it, then what? What do you go do as this ordained chief AI officer?
No, this is wonderful question. So, like you mentioned, nowadays you have a team of four to team of 4,000, right? Every team is a different team, but then you definitely need a person who wear this hat of chief AI officer. The reason, like you mentioned, Josh, like a shadow AI, right? This one of the most you can just laugh out on that topic, but technically it's so risky. Imagine someone is bringing the phone, taking a picture of your personal contract. They're just trying to process it without them knowing that information is going out there with the world and that data can be publicly available. And then you're not aware about it at all. So, this certification actually drills down to the basics of the AI officers, legitimacy of how they are going to operate. So that means, irrespective if you are a CTO or an executive or a leader or a manager, if you're having an AI acumen and you want to set the stage for your teams to effectively use an AI and govern it and set the right framework, have a baseline knowledge and the baseline policy, not the policies in the world of AI of like 500 pages, but the policies of the five bullets, which will really create an impact, right? So that's kind of a certification lay down the foundation for. And rather than not only the fancy name like a chief AI officer, but also really taking the responsibility of how the AI governance and execution is extremely important, because you're actually right now knowingly, unknowingly living in an AI. So right now we are living in the world of AI rather than we were having the co-pilot AI. So it has drastically changed in the last 3 4 months. So these certifications is actually helping to take a faster decision on what not to do versus what to do. Now, if you're doing something, how effectively you should do, and if you're not doing something, why you must do it. So the reason of bringing in an AI, So you should be able to answer this question, and this certification is actually laying down the foundation for us to really become more mature at the leadership level, to the managerial level, to the executional level. Whether you are taking, let's say, a business intelligence decision, whether you are taking, let's say, a project management decision, whether you are taking a decision which is, taking your organization to bring it to an AI framework, right? So, and then the most importantly, what's an ROI, right? Are they really adapting the tools in the effective way? You just have a fancy tool, no one using it? No. That's what the certification is really bringing the value. And right, like you mentioned rightly, the practical hands-on exposure to this process is extremely important rather than learning about the framework and just staying aside. So, yeah.
Okay, so the course is really about empowering you to be a champion of AI governance. Tell me if I get this right. Across enterprise, balancing the risk and reward of AI.
Absolutely. And that's really sets apart from, learning about the generic process of becoming an AI officer. We're just reading about the 500 different legal laws you never apply. No. It's like impactful execution in a structured and most time-saving way for you to learn. And then you literally start applying. You learn the template, you learn the capstones, you learn the processes, you learn the framework, apply it, and then you will stay with the community. You get the content access for a 1 year, so it keeps on evolving, and you can literally become a part of this entire ecosystem. Yeah.
Josh, how are we on slides?
We have this one here, and then I think we have, yeah, we're very close to the end here.
Okay. If you don't mind, what I'd like your perspective on is in practice in organizations, like what does the execution of a chief AI officer like actually look like?
Yeah, so yeah, you mentioned it earlier, what does this kind of person look like? I think certainly they have AI expertise. That's got to be a foundational element. How much expertise, that's probably up for discussion. But they're really driving, strategic AI road mapping, for example. So they come with a strategic lens. How are we going to transform this organization using AI? I think you've seen a lot of these cases where a CEO basically just tells the whole organization, every unit needs to show me two AI, examples of how you're going to be, integrating this into your ecosystem. I
Get
don't
some
think
AI.
yeah, I don't think that's quite the right approach. I think you want to take a use case, business case, and business impact point of view, and that's where the chief AI officer can really help. So understanding the organization as it is today, understanding where you would bring AI in from a use case perspective, and that may not be just you deciding that. That's where the AI council is really important. But you as the chief AI officer driving those decisions, so driving the innovation, what use cases you plan to solve, and building that roadmap, giving everybody in the organization a vision of what, whatever organization it's called, dot AI, really looks like.
All right, thanks. Okay, so I go get the certification and I want to be a chief AI officer. How do I champion this role becoming like opened up at my enterprise? How do I like become the chief AI officer?
Is that to me?
Could be to either of you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think certainly the certification path is one aspect of it, but that doesn't mean immediately people are going to hire you as a chief AI officer. So, or if you're already in the organization. But what it does give you is the tools to start thinking about this in the right way. So, I think you have to do some of these activities. So you have to champion cultural change. Where we have seen success in organizations around driving AI innovation responsibly, and with governance in mind, you have someone who has become the champion. Oftentimes, that person may not be the most, the one with the most expertise in AI. So they do a lot of training. They try to understand, AI, how it's going to drive their business, how it's going to change and transform their business. And they become the champion. We call sometimes them AI advocates. But somebody like that can really be somebody who either wears this hat or is starting to try to grow into that role, to be that senior leader. Um, and then kind of looking across the organization, you need to enable those high performance teams. So some teams are going to be very reluctant and resistant to these changes. Some teams are going to embrace it and really try to understand how to drive their productivity responsibly. And maybe they're not someone with a governance mind every day that they sit down, but at least they're aware of some of the risks, some of the frameworks that we're talking about today, and so they can do this responsibly.
Okay. As you were talking, I was looking at this quote, and it's bringing a concept to mind. So innovation happens when people are free to think, experiment, and speculate. In machine learning, we have what's called the no free lunch theorem, right? Where you actually don't know how an AI model will perform on data until you train it on that data and test it in application. Um, so with that being said, like AI involves making mistakes and doing experiments and failing, right? That's part of innovation. Is it the chief AI officer's kind of role to like provide that space for failure to happen, to actually like get to the innovation part? I see a lot of phrasing on here that's like accountability and things like that, but I think there needs to be that innovative space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's both things. So you're trying to drive the innovation, which may mean, hey, bring me a bunch of examples, proposals, if you will, of how AI might be used in this organization. Tell me how you're going to implement that. If you have prototyping timelines, things like that. What is the business impact? How are you going to measure ROI for this particular use case? And making sure that they have the tools available for them to be innovative. So oftentimes we see, total lockdowns of systems to where they have, very little access to AI tools. They can't innovate in that space. But if you give them, AI tools in a sandbox, don't allow them to, necessarily connect sensitive data to their AI pilots, then they can innovate and show off the ROI, and really try to drive, some of the things that the chief AI officer or other folks on the AI council might be trying to drive towards, transformation wise.
So there's one person I have in my mind, and you probably know who I'm talking about. They're a legal officer of a company, but really they satisfy, I think, to the definition, this chief AI officer. And what they do is evangelize AI within the organization. And as a security person, we often think of like, there's risk. How do we like mitigate this risk or transfer it or just avoid it, right? But what this evangelist does is they go and they talk about AI risk that are concerning people and they help them kind of mentally drive down that risk and say, okay, I see you're concerned about this thing, but like there are controls to draw that down and it might not even be a problem in the way we build the system or put it into practice. And it kind of removes that hurdle and they can actually like innovate in space now. So I think that's a really interesting aspect.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, I
Okay,
think
do we
we're
have
getting pretty close
a
here.
slide?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we close out, we've talked a lot about how Fire Mountain Labs kind of works through AI maturity and how AI CERTs offers these learning pathways. I want to give you both a chance to talk about, offerings and what's on the truck, as it were, that Fire Mountain Labs and AI CERTs can do for you today or tomorrow. Um, Chintan, let's have you bring the AI search perspective, um, and then we'll end with Josh bringing Fire Mountain Labs and what they're doing in the space.
100%. And really amazing point, like you brought in, Chris. So every journey of the million miles starts with a single step, as they say, right? So this is the single step that, everybody has to take, irrespective of they're into what role. This role becomes extremely important for, so, everybody's a chief AI officer. How you do it is what this certification program will lay down, and we have amazing smart experts like Krish and Josh. They will actually connect you back with the dots that you would need to understand between the certification and then after the certification, how you literally apply it to your day-to-day projects. So from the AI certs perspective, I would definitely vouch for our team, Krish and Josh, and just learn, try and embrace the entire process, but also make sure that you're actually going through the thorough process in a framework way, in a content way, but also a super hands-on in the problem-solving manner. So the certifications which we built, the moat behind it, the goal behind the role-based certification is that we want to solve the problem for every role with an AI enablement. So, this becomes one of the core role of everything that we do, because you're talking about governance, you're talking about blockers, you're talking about adoption, you're talking about technology, you're talking about ROI, you're talking about business perspective, you're talking about expansion, you're talking about rules, legality, to name the few. So this becomes very, very critical. And as change needs a structure. You did a structural changes is what this is going to be super helpful. And with a clear goals and roles, and the teams, if they go through this entire process with the chief AI officer certification, they assess their self. I see thousands of learners are already getting benefited after doing this certification. You can see the testimonial all over the internet. But yeah, I would definitely recommend you get in touch with our experts, Chris and Josh, and they would definitely help you as it scale it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Josh, you want to close us out?
Yeah, appreciate that, Chintan. So yeah, the things that we talked about today, Chief AI Officer, AI Council, these sorts of things, these may be very new to your organization, and that's really what we're here for. So we're a consulting company. We come with that human element. We've been doing AI for some time. We've worked in various kind of industries. We've been in government, we've been in nonprofits, we've been in startups and industry. So we have that perspective. So we do consulting, for secure by design, for example. So if you are starting those pilot projects, how do you do that securely so that you're working in, risks and governance and things like that from the very beginning. We help folks kind of understand. We were talking about the AI maturity model. Where are you today? How do you kind of measure up to these different pillars? And what's next? Whether it's training, whether it's setting up some of the things we talked about today, an AI council, whether it's, understanding how to drive the innovation in your organization for use cases and things like that. That's really where we can help. And then also understanding that AI governance and compliance aspect. While we don't have sort of a hammer coming down right now with compliance, it is coming. We can certainly expect in the next, 3 to 5 years that there will be compliance requirements around AI usage, and certainly around risky aspects of using AI. So these are the places that we can help. Please do reach out if you want to discuss this further. And thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciated this conversation, and we're happy to take any questions now. So do we have questions in the chat?
The audience is stunned.
I've seen some.
I think while we have question pops up, I'll have one question for you, Chris, and maybe you can add in Josh. The what should be the day zero steps now? Like what should be the next steps for our audience as well? Because there will be a lot of recordings will be reading by the audience who is not able to make it, if you can guide on that.
Yeah, okay. So if you're going to walk away from today's conversation and you do one thing, if you're trying to do AI in your organization, somebody needs to be responsible for it. Um, maybe there's no auditor knocking on your door yet, but one day, soon, somebody will be asking who's in charge of AI and what are you doing to protect your organization and what are you doing to make sure that your clients are also protected. And you're going to be able to need to answer those questions. So start thinking about an AI policy for acceptable use, how to track an AI inventory in your organization, and who is the steward of those things.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think setting up that AI council, people have different kind of starting points. Kind of some of it kind of forms grassroots naturally. Sometimes it might be some AI advocate that's part of an AI pilot in the organization that drives some of what Chris just talked about, or it could come from top down. And we really, today talked about that chief AI officer role as driving that. So, setting up the AI council, setting up an AI use policy, these kinds of things, definitely.
Mhm.
Super
And I think
helpful, Chris.
if
And
they do it, still find there's AI in their organizations they didn't know about yet or didn't really consider, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat, so if anyone is asking questions there, I can't see them.
Mhm. A couple really nice thank yous. I don't
Okay.
see any.
Okay. Well, if there are no questions, then I think we can close out today.
Sounds good. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, Chris and Josh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I see a raised hand. Kim Janik.
Yeah.
Last
So,
minute question. I like this.
yes. So, I think that we are towards the end of this session. I just wanted to let the audience know that we'll be sharing the recording of this session and participation certificates shortly after this. If in case you have any questions, we have already shared the LinkedIn IDs and the consultation link with you. You can obviously schedule a consultation with Josh and Chris whenever you are available. Feel free to reach out to us or maybe both of our speakers, and we'll be happy to help. I think with that, Josh, Chris, and Chintan, we are towards the end. Yeah.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
appreciate your time, everybody. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Josh.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.